I was at my third PEPS training. For those of you who don't know, that's President-elect training for those in line to be Rotary President. So 3 times, if I'm not ready now, it's my own fault. You always meet new friends there. I met a new friend who's our presenter today, Dr. Karen Pollard. And she is President-elect for the Crescent Rotary Club in Greensboro. And through talking with her, she shared a couple things that I thought were really interesting. And one of those things is the Jamaica Water Project that their club's trying to get off the ground. And I asked her to come share that, but she's also going to share, you're going to get 2 presentations today in one. So I'll tell you a little bit more about Dr. Karen Pollard when we're switching from one presentation to another. But without further ado, I'm going to have you come on up here. Let's welcome her today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, Jared and I met at PETS, and he was also at the grants management training where I presented about this project. He said, "Hey, would you come to my club and tell us about what y'all are doing?" And it kind of fits right in with the program I'll give later on Finding Inspiration. But I want you to think about if you had to walk miles and miles to get water every day. When we think about Jamaica, we think about the places you go on your cruise ship and the places you fly into, and you think, well, they have running water and clean water, and it's okay. Well, over toward the other side of the island, where it says Westmoreland, there's a little place called Bluefields. I don't know if you can see that in the light green. And in this region of Jamaica, they do not have reliable access to clean water, and they do have to walk miles and miles each day to carry water so that people can have clean water. And I, through happenstance, like Jared said, you meet people all over the place. I met a guy who owns a company, a nonprofit here in North Carolina in the Triad, that they have been working on getting clean water to Jamaica. And they did a presentation, they're called JawWorks. They did a presentation that I was watching and talking about how they were able to get about 16 homes over the course of several years access to clean water by installing water catchment systems, which look a little bit like this. And I was at the meeting with another Rotarian, and I texted him, it was a virtual meeting, I texted him, I said, this sounds to me like a global grant opportunity, because at the rate they're going, it's going to take a really long time to get all these residents access to clean water. And he said, you know what, you're right. So I started talking to some of our district global grants people about, is this something we could do? And there was a lot of excitement around it. And so we've put together kind of a 2-step project. The first step is that we're applying for a $30,000 global grant, which means that we as district clubs have to raise $20,000, which would then be matched at the international level to this $30,000. And we're gonna, in that Bluefields area, there are 10 communities without reliable access to clean water. So with the $30,000 grant, we're gonna give one of those communities, the entire community, reliable access to clean water. It will have an opportunity for Rotarians from our district, from the participating clubs, and Rotarians in Jamaica to meet and help install these catchment systems when that happens, which we're hoping is in about a year from now. Assuming that all goes well, part 2 of the project is that we're going to apply for a $250,000 global grant to impact all 10 of those communities. So that entire region of Jamaica would then have reliable access to clean water. So it's a pretty exciting project, and it is sustainable. JawWorks works regularly with the local community in order to try to teach them how to maintain these systems so that after we come and do our thing forever, they will be able to keep up the clean water. So I appreciate the opportunity to present about this project. This is their team at one of their events. And if you all as a club decide that that's something you might want to get on board with, maybe go to Jamaica and install some water catchment systems, let Jared know and he can get in touch with me.
So while we're transitioning to the next, obviously, I wanted Karen to come share that with you because I think it's, it's one of our areas of focus as a Rotary. And international projects, I know we've done some in the past. talking with Mary Jane, who's in line after me, president, and then Doug after her. I think we're all kind of interested in seeing where we might be able to fit in as a club for the next project. This may be one of those that we partner with, I don't know. Just kind of planting the seed, throwing some things out there for the club and the board to talk about at some point, bring to the club maybe. So it's exciting. It's definitely a need there, obviously, in other parts of the world as well. So just planting the seed for that. But I want to tell you a little bit more about Karen. Dr. Karen Pollard is a neuropsychologist, as well as the founder and CEO of Brain Power Advisors, where she helps busy business leaders increase efficiency and reduce stress so that they can reclaim time and have more life balance. Something probably we're all looking for, unless you're retired maybe. Dr. Pollard's expertise provides her with unique knowledge on how individual brain differences impact performance. Therefore, she created a groundbreaking approach to maximizing efficiency and effectiveness by identifying and leveraging 6 cognitive super strengths and by addressing potential psychological barriers to achieving professional goals. This strategy has been shown to be particularly useful during times of restructuring or leadership transition to help new teams and individuals maximize performance in their new roles. In her personal life, she is the married mother of 2 young daughters. She is also an adventurer, was recently part of a group that raised funds to start a cervical cancer screening clinic in Tanzania. And while there, she and her team climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. And we're going to hear more about that. In her spare time, she enjoys swimming, playing the piano, and playing poker. So let's see what she has to say about this.
Is it all right if I walk around? I know you've got the camera.
Yeah, okay. Just focus up there.
Okay, all right. So, second, Karen, take 2. You get to see lots of me today. A few years ago, our Rotary International president challenged us all to be the inspiration. So I feel like this is an appropriate topic for Rotarians. And if you're like me, when you think about where you find inspiration, you probably look to somebody that you know that inspires you. This is my friend Sarah. She is a professor at High Point University. She's a former neighbor of mine. She loves hiking. She loves helping the world. She just is a person who I aspire to be. She's also a cancer survivor. And a few years ago, she and I were having lunch, and she said, Karen, I'm going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Do you want to come with me? And I think my exact response was, no. But I want to know why you think you can do that, because she's not some extreme athlete. She's a regular person like us. So then I started researching it, and I realized normal people can train to climb Kilimanjaro. It's the highest peak in Africa, but normal people can do it. So after about a week, I called her up. I said, you know what, I'm in. So let's do this. So we started training and getting ready, and she said, I think we should do something more than just go there and climb the mountain. And with her being a cancer survivor, she said, why don't we partner with this organization that sets up cervical cancer screening clinics and raise funds to start one in Tanzania, where cancer is a leading cause of death among women. And so I said, okay, let's do that. And here comes the power of Rotary again. I brought this to my Rotary Club, and they gave a big chunk, and we did some grassroots funding, and lo and behold, we were able to fund a cervical cancer screening clinic in this remote region of Tanzania. So we planned our route, climbing up the mountain. These are all the different routes you can take when you climb Kilimanjaro. We took the Machame route, which you may not be able to see. It's this light brown one on the side. It kind of goes up and around and ultimately to the top. And the entrance looks a little bit like this. This is actually, once you come through the entrance, looking back to the road that brings you up the mountain. And there's this little sign that tells you, oh, you're going to hike this long, and it's going to take this far, it's going to take this long. Our times were usually double or triple, whatever they said on that little sign, not being super athletic people ourselves. But anyway, it starts out, it's a cool hike because you go through 5 different climate zones on your way from bottom to top. So you start in the rainforest, you end in an alpine. It's really cool. So this is the rainforest. That was our main guide. His name was Joshua. And my favorite photo from the whole trip was this one, which is taken looking up at the canopy from inside the rainforest. I just think it looks like a river or something. I think it's cool. So we had a lot of fun. These are our guides. We had 4 of them. We had a group of 7 people that were going up together. We had 4 guides and about 40 support people carrying our things. We didn't have to carry much other than what we needed for the day. Food, water, change of clothes, rain gear. That's all we had in our packs. Other folks were walking with all our stuff. Like it was nothing. I mean, usually no hands like this guy, just up and down the mountain. And they would go up and down and up and down, and they would bring water for cooking, and they would bring, every day up and down this mountain. So it made me really humble because I was nowhere near being able to do that. You know, when you're trying to look for inspiration, there are obstacles that you face. On day 2, we got to this point and we took a little break and we're looking at this view, and they said, "You see that second peak in the background?" I said, "Yeah." They said, "That's where we're going today. That's where our camp is." What? That looks really far. I don't know if I can do this. But you just kind of one step at a time. So eventually we did make it to our camp, and hopefully this video will play. We just made it to Camp 2. It's a gorgeous day today. We got so lucky because they were calling for rain. No rain, bright blue sky. You can kind of see the weather coming in behind us.
Lots of steps, lots of incline, lots of steps.
We were scaling rock faces at the side of the mountain, but we all made it. So, thumbs up. I'm going to show you this view.
Yep, that's where we're going.
There's the peak. You can't see it because of the clouds. So you couldn't see the peak, really. You know, here it was day 2 of our hike. We had been in Africa for a few days doing the clinic dedication. Then we got to day 2. We still couldn't see the peak of the mountain all of that time. But we knew it was there, and so we were going for it. And we felt really good after day 2. They said, there's this extra little hike you should do to help you acclimatize once you get to this camp. And so we thought, okay, we're feeling good, we'll do that. So we did this. This is a picture taken at that extra hike. We've got good energy. I tell you what, man, this was 12,000 feet. I woke up the next morning for day 3. Woo, I could not breathe. I felt like, I've been running a long ways. I would walk a little bit, and then I would just have to try to catch my breath. The altitude was really hitting me. And I remember I would sit down like every, 2 hours or something. I would just sit down and just cry. Because I thought there's no way I could keep going. And it was the most hopeless feeling, because even if I decide to give up at this point, no one's going to come and get me in a car and take me. I still have to hike for 2 days to get back down. So it really felt like, oh my God, I'm totally stuck. And I did not think I was going to make it through that day. It was 9 hours of hiking that day. And the guide, every time that I sat down to cry, the guide would come over to me and say, "No cry, it's okay." And so I would get back up and take a deep breath and keep going. And I won't show you the video from the end of this day 3, but I will show you just a clip of what I looked like when I was filming that video. I did not think I was going to make it. I laid down in my tent. There was dinner happening. I didn't know if I could get up for dinner. I was in a bad state. And everyone kept saying, "This is the hardest day," because on day 3, you go to 15,000 feet. And then you sleep at 12,000. So you go from 12,000 to 15,000 to 12,000. And they say that helps your brain. And they said, "Don't worry, day 4 and 5 will be better. It'll be okay." So I said, all right, I'll keep going. And they were right. So day 5, we reached this point, which is the base camp, from where you push to the summit. So I have a little video from day 5. Hello.
Hello, baby.
We just finished day 5. This was the easiest day for me.
It was still hard.
It was so hard. But we made it, and we're smiling and happy. I'm going to show you around the camp. This is the Pollard. They're fantastic. They come meet us down the mountain and give us stuff. Oh, yeah. That's what we do. Sorry about the sound quality. This is where the porters sleep. I'm pointing out this little green thing that you may not be able to see is our potty. We paid to have somebody carry a bathroom up for us. You wanted that tomorrow?
We leave at 11 p.m. tonight, so we're going to try to eat some lunch and then sleep. And it's about 12:30 or 1 right now.
So I'm going to stop that because that wind is really obnoxious. But what we're saying is that it was about noon and we were going to eat lunch, take a nap, eat dinner, try to sleep again, and at about 11:30 is when you leave to go to the summit. So we were ready to go. At the end of this video, you hear us like, yeah, we're going to do it. You know, feeling good. So there's a picture from the summit, and I'll share my next video with you. Well, it is the morning of day 6. I did not reach the summit. Made it about 2 hours into the summit hike and felt very, very weak, very uncoordinated, like imagine you were really drunk and trying to climb a very technical mountain. There were lots of rocks to navigate. At one point I had a porter on each arm, essentially trying to carry me up, and I just felt like it wasn't worth the risk. At any point I could misstep and risk serious injury or worse, and just decided I better not. So I came back down. The rest of the group probably summited about an hour ago, so I will make another video when they get down. I am sad that I didn't make it, but I know I gave 100%. And I'm really proud of everyone in my group who kept going. I guess you just never know how that altitude is going to affect you. So, high altitude climbing is probably my thing. But I persevered a lot on this trip. And I'm proud of myself. That is a tough video for me to watch. This is probably the second time I've done it without crying. It was the hardest decision I've ever made to turn around. You know, we were training for a year. We felt good. We were up there. And, you know, as I said in the video, it just didn't feel like it was worth the risk at that time. So I collected myself. I think I only slept about an hour by the time I got back to my tent. And I went outside, and one of the porters said, you know, would you like some hot chocolate? And I said, oh, that'd be great. And he got me a little chair. And I sat down, and this was my view. I was drinking some hot chocolate. And in that moment, I had just this wave of calm and peace that came over me, and I'm looking at this view from 15,000 feet that most people only see from an airplane. And it was just so quiet and beautiful, and I felt what I had accomplished. And I would not have had that moment had I made it to the summit, because the rest of my group that did summit were so tired when they got back. They were borderline delirious, all of them. They don't remember this camp. They got back down, kind of fell asleep for a couple hours, and then we had to keep going. They had to hike more that day down to the next camp. And so I found myself feeling very grateful for this moment. I was going to find what was a good thing in that moment. But it was a very humbling lesson for me personally. You can't always do everything you think you can do. But I learned a lot on the trip. I learned that I really don't like hiking. Most people don't have to climb Kilimanjaro to find out they don't like hiking. I learned what kind of rocks I can trust with my life. The glove is just there for size comparison. In case you're wondering, it's this one, not that one. I learned that one person can make a difference in the world. If it wasn't for Sarah saying, hey, we should do something with this trip, there wouldn't be a cervical cancer screening clinic in that region of Tanzania. And all she did was say, hey, I think we should do this, and we bonded together and we did it. But most importantly, I think what I learned is that I don't need to look to somebody else for inspiration. You know, I'm a person who, with a week's notice, decided to try this adventure of a lifetime. And so that's something that's inspiring to me. And I think we can serve as our own sources of inspiration. So while it's great to look at other people, don't forget to look inside yourself.
Any questions?
Karen, when you were training, tell us about the hardest day of training. What that was like. What that involved.
The hardest training for me was we went up and down Mount Mitchell. You know, we thought, we don't have a lot of options for high altitude hiking east of Mississippi, but Mount Mitchell's about the best one. If you've ever hiked it, it's not easy. And it's about like that. We equated it after we went. We said, if you're gonna train to do this, what you should do is camp at the bottom of Mount Mitchell, hike up and down 3 days in a row. If you can do that, you'll probably be good. But we did, because Sarah was a professor at High Point University, they let us come in and use their hyperbaric chamber. They put a treadmill in there, and we could come in with our packs, and we would weight our packs down and go on the treadmill in that chamber, which I think simulated up to 14,000 feet. I don't think that did a darn thing. Because we were in that thing training all the time. I don't think that did any good. Temperature, is that what you said? So we were apparently there in an unseasonably cold season. We went in August, which is their winter. But I mean, they're almost right on the equator, so it's not like it's a cold place. And it's one of the most common times to hike it. Usually there's not snow at the top. Our group that summited had to borrow crampons from, the guides had to give them some because it was so slippery and icy. It was, I don't know the actual temperature, but it was very, very cold at the top. And the wind was strong enough to knock over a grown person. So I had another friend that was in the group that also didn't summit, and she told me that after I turned back, she was knocked over twice by the wind before she turned around.
Did your friend make it to the summit?
Sarah made it to the summit. You know, I think Sarah was hiking with a different purpose than the rest of us. I think she had beaten cancer, and she was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this. And she did it. Thank you so much.
What a cool story, and I think it speaks volumes that, you know, like Karen said, we look for speakers and people come in and stories, and just the stories we even hear within the club or in the community are so unique and so fascinating that I think it's always fun to hear this. So we really appreciate Karen, you coming out and